back to For Pilates' Sake. Matilda and I will be showing you guys some basic chair exercises in the future, but before we do, we'd like to go over the anatomy of the chair. So we are both sitting on centerline chairs. They have the spring in the center, hence centerline, and they have 4 attachments. Higher up the spring goes, the heavier it is, the lower it goes, the lighter it is. When you are looking at a body on these chairs, you know, we consider ourselves sort of average size, and there is a card with specific springs designed for each exercise, but that does not mean that it meets that person's needs. So obviously, if we're doing footwork, someone who is maybe a little shorter or weaker, and both, might have their spring come down a little lower so they're able to execute the exercise well without being bullied.
I think the other important piece here a little bit is the height.
Yes.
And the width even. They're all a little bit different. Everyone's got different chairs out there. There's all kinds of chairs.
Yeah. Well, we have the more classical one has the springs on the outside. That's the way Joe originally made it.
It's like short.
Much lower, yes.
Lower. So I think some important pieces here, as well as the anatomy of the chair that Veronica just talked about, was placement of the body on the chair as well. So if you're taller, you're going to have a longer leg, and just say you pump the paddle down, you're going to be able to, you're going to get a smaller range in the hip joint than somebody who's a little bit shorter. For them, it's going to be a lot more challenging, and they're going to get a lot more range at the hip. So the start position for taller and shorter people is going to be different.
Right.
Another example would be maybe like an upside down push-up or an up down. You take somebody who's 100 pounds perhaps, and you give them a 3-2 spring on this, as opposed to someone maybe that's 200 pounds.
Yeah.
That's going to be a very different exercise for them. The smaller person, it's not an exercise, it's more of
a ride. Yeah.
Than it is an exercise.
Yeah,
So we really need to pay attention to the spring. So I think it's important for us to know that we need to match the spring. The spring and you need to have a relationship where you feel you're doing something and the spring is doing something back for you, rather than you pushing the spring around or the spring bullying you.
Right. And in some cases, the spring is meant to be there for support to give you extra muscles to do some of those exercises. Or maybe you're getting stronger and you want to lighten the load or the spring tension so that you have to use more muscular effort. And of course, the opposite is true. Like I said, if you need more muscle, more help, then you would up the springs in some cases.
Yeah. So
we'll have to talk about that for each individual exercise. That's not a rule.
Yeah.
That's a guideline.
Yeah. The other thing, one last thing, I think that's important here is just, and it might get a little confusing, but something to think about is the angle. See the paddle and how tall this is? So the paddle starts here, but when it's fully pushed down, right? Sorry for that. Like this is quite a big arc. So when you start too close sometimes with your hands on the paddle, by the time it comes down, your hands are basically at your feet. So for example, stand and push down from the front.
Right.
Right. So just making space, knowing that the paddle is going to be arcing either towards you or away from you, and just knowing that that is
that could be an issue for someone who doesn't have a lot of flexibility.
So paying attention to really all of the pieces and knowing that this small little piece of equipment is a very powerful little piece of equipment, but it's really, really an amazing.
It was also called a plane reformer. And so, so in small New York apartments, they couldn't fit a reformer, so
it's perfect, really.
Yeah, everyone should have that one. Okay, we'll have fun with our next bunch of videos.
Great.
Bye.